because of some tech things. And we are bringing it back in the future. I'm not sure if we know when.
I think aiming for 7.15,
Yeah,
but don't take that as a promise. That's a goal. We were also aiming for 7.1 until 2 weeks ago, for reference.
Yeah.
Basically, the whole tournament was set up around the premise of there can be one winner per realm. The first person on a realm that brings the required fish back in is the winner for that week. Well, in the post-Legion worlds of sharding, and the way we had to rebuild our architecture, there can be one winner per realm. Make things like the first person on a realm that happens, there isn't that clear one-to-one relationship anymore of, well, there is a Stranglethorn and sharding, a realm. And the way we had to rebuild that made the entire there can be one winner per realm. Make things that would have been really negative on a realm that happens. So we're actually looking at when it comes back,
the character that you want to progress and having a meaningful progression system there, and trying to take away some of those things that do feel more like a chore or feel like it's a, it's not a fun experience to play through multiple times. So I think all those things are on the table. I mean, we talked about the artifact knowledge catch-up that we're doing in the future, which will help with artifacts. I think we're looking at reputation as well. There's some new things in 7.2 we want to look at with reputation for even characters at max reputation. So that it's not just as easy as flipping it over and saying like you can earn rep on other characters, but I agree with you. I think in Legion there's so much more content to play through. Like when I switch to a different character, I get a whole new class order campaign, I get a whole new profession quest line, which is awesome. But trying to minimize at the same time the things that everybody has to go through.
I think it's also worth noting, from the other end of the other side of it is looking at what are the things that are gated behind those reputations, if you're talking about rep in particular. So in 7.1, we made the attunements to access the Suramar dungeons account-wide. We also made unlocking world quests account-wide. Those are two of the biggest things that made you feel like if you were used to having those things on one character, there were absolute must-haves on an alt, and it wasn't an optional thing. So in that world, well, once you have those things up front, if reputation is there, just sort of measure your progress through the storyline if you want to play through it a second time, or let's say your main was a blacksmith and enchanter, but your alt is a leatherworker, and so you want to get your Dreamweaver's rep up to get leatherworking patterns on your leatherworker, that may be another form of progression that isn't so mandatory or feels like it's crippling your ability to play that character. And so we wanted, again, like Matt said, strike that balance and draw the line between things that are excluding you and things that would remove goals, because part of playing and progressing an alt is striving towards and reaching goals.
Well, on the bright side, Legion Pathfinder is account-wide. that account-wide flying. We have another question from online, and they want to know, are any of the other basic race mounts, like human horses or Forsaken skeletal horses, going to get graphical updates the way that we saw Tauren Kodos get updates?
So it's really hard to give a definitive yes or no to that. That decision making comes along when we were talking about what is most relevant to the storytelling we're doing at the game this time. So in the case of Legion, we felt like, I'd used Kodo as an example to say, we're going to see a lot of Tauren. That's clearly a very Tauren-related mount, and in that case, it made a lot of sense to update them along with the Tauren updates that we were doing. So in the future, I'd say have hope. It's like I said, it's hard to say, yeah, we're going to do the horse, next week or whatever. But we're always looking for reasons to go back and update older content like that when it makes sense in the newer content that we're building.
But we want them. We have another question from a member of our audience.
Right, yeah. So the role players of Moonguard have a bit of a lore question for you. So, given that Blood Elf Paladins get their power from the Sunwell these days, and the Sunwell's on Azeroth, what's the effective range of it? How does it work on other planets and other timelines? Is it a trans-dimensional cross? What's up with that?
So, the Sunwell. Holy magic is woven throughout the entirety of the cosmos, right? So, while the Sunwell exists in a certain specific location, its magic will absolutely kind of travel through everything in the universe as light does. So effectively, there's no range.
That is how light works. That is how light works. We have another question from one of our players online, and they want to know, are there any plans to turn the World of Warcraft token into a currency that could be used to buy other character services, like realm hops or changes of your faction or customization?
Yes.
Louder for the people in the back.
when we actually designed the system, we actually designed it to be useful across all the different kind of services that we have. And before we launched the system, in order to kind of make sure it was a smooth system that worked in the way that we wanted it to, we backed off of that and changed it to be 30 days of time only. But we do have plans to expand that in the very near future.
Would that be like a separate part of the auction house? Because right now the token is all by itself.
So the token will remain by itself, and you would have an option to redeem a token for 30 days of game time or a certain amount of BattleNet balance.
All right. Our next question is from Adam here at BlizzCon.
Hey guys, Shinjaru, Brewmaster Monk, Ice Crown. Are you ever going to update old vanilla armor sets, or even older, or even other expansions? Also, why don't you increase the main backpack?
Good God, yes. Why?
I'll start with the armor set question. So we do from time to time try to go back and not necessarily just revamp older armor sets, but we try to take inspiration from them and reintroduce them with sort of like updated graphics and appearances. So probably, I don't think there's going to be a case where we go back and specifically just change existing art one for one as much as using it as inspiration.
We'll get to that.
And I don't have the bag answer for it.
Okay, so there's a little bit of an anecdote about the backpack, which I need to share, which is for a long time there's been this almost a myth on the design team that changing the backpack is incredibly difficult and it's going to cause a lot of problems. And I said that once in a meeting, and immediately after the meeting, our gameplay engineer, Pat Magruder, came over and he's like, "What are you talking about? It's not that hard. Why do you guys keep saying that?" And I know, and I was like, we've been saying that. Nobody knew that that was actually true. So it's not as easy as what he was saying. Like the gameplay side of it is easy, but the UI side maybe takes a little bit of work. So I will say we are looking at it. I wish I could give you guys an exact patch, but it's something. I actually think I'm a little worried that if we do it, we don't know like what else people will ask for every time, because it's kind of like that thing that everyone talks about. So
we'll just dangle it there, hold it over you.
Yeah, exactly. Because now you guys know it's easy. So
I think the broader question of inventory space, right? I mean, obviously we've continued to increase bag sizes right up until Legion, where we didn't do that further. because we instead, with things like the transmog system and otherwise, pulled a lot out of your inventory. More things going into the toy box, more things going to other places. You have the reagent bank that makes it more easier to store and file those away. And so at some point, it raises the question of, if you want more space, we can give you more space and you'll fill it. But then you start to need you need bag mods, and you're filtering through 142 slots. We'd rather take a step back and ask the question, why are you feeling that you need to carry 142 items around with you? And what are we doing that's making bag space such a contentious issue? And let's fix it on that side of things.
Secondary stats. No. Okay.
Oh, sheesh.
So really quick, I just wanted to add one thing about the armor. We get a lot of questions about updating older content, and I think one of the things we're really sensitive to is the nostalgia that players have for the roots in the game. And so anytime we're talking about armor sets, mounts, anything like that, if we go in and we change them, chances are it's going to be split down the middle as to whether or not people feel like it was an improvement or that we aim for them. So it's something we're always balancing and thinking about when we make decisions like that. And I think that's why we always err on the side of, let's use older content as inspiration for newer content, but not necessarily go back and change it wholesale.
One extra little tidbit of info. So patch 7.2. So this wasn't mentioned in the panel yesterday, but the raid armor that you'll be getting from the Tomb of Sargeras is in fact very, very heavily inspired by the Tier 6 Black Temple sets. So if you want to imagine what World of Warcraft's artists today, with our engine, with the armor tech that we have today, would do to, let's say, the Lightbringer set for Paladins, well, you'll have to see that in 7.2.
Our next question is from an online player, and they want to know if you've ever considered removing like gathering professions as a thing that counts against your professions, so that you could have like 2 professions and a gathering profession, or you could have all of the gathering professions and then only one crafting profession.
Actually, this comes up I think every expansion we've talked about this. It comes up internally a lot too. And the one thing that we always look at is how core professions are to the overall character that you have. So if you have the druid who's an herbalist, that's a meaningful connection to that character. So what happens if you are an herbalist and you get another thing on top of that? So we like how professions diversify our characters beyond just class. It's class and profession ends up being a big part of who your character is. But again, it comes up all the time, so who knows, we could do it.
I got distracted by Pepe, I'm sorry. What's your question, Carol?
Hi, I'm also known as Elena from the Bearers of Light of Moonguard. Please don't judge me. First of all, I want to say thank you for Legion. I absolutely love this expansion. I guess they do too. And I love the artifact weapons. So my question is, what's in store for our weapon in future expansions? And if they are not going forward,
good question.
what are you replacing them with?
So, great question. We said from the outset when we introduced artifact weapons that these were going to be a feature confined to Legion the same way that the Garrison was confined to Warlords. Part of what that means for us is that it actually frees us to really do crazier, bolder, more exciting things with the feature that we could never really do if we were putting it out there and committing to update it for years and years and years to come. We wouldn't really be comfortable committing to the idea that you're never again going to get a weapon upgrade. And we probably wouldn't want to be in a place 6 years from now where we're making your 133rd trait for your Ashbringer because you feel like you need continued reasons to progress your artifact. Now, all of that said, obviously there's a tremendous amount of attachment to this weapon, and we know that it's not going to suffice in any way, shape, or form to just replace it with a really high-level green weapon that has high DPS. That's not what we're going to do. A couple of things. I think one thing that we've talked about that we hope to do is at the end of Legion, when all is said and done, you'll be able to, players who have played through the Legion storyline during the Legion timeframe, will be able to unlock the artifact appearances as permanent transmog appearances to carry forward. So if you've earned that, Shattered Ashbringer, or you've spent, 30 hours of your life fishing with a lot of other paladins for that corrupted Ashbringer, you can show that off, going on and carry that with you as a memory of the pain that you've suffered. Whereas someone who joins the game 4 or 5 years from now won't have that option. They can go back, they can get the Ashbringer, they can customize it, but they can't take the appearance off it. Separately, the progression that the artifact represents, and the max level gameplay, and the desire to, almost always keep leveling. It's like you never run out of wanting experience. You always have something to look forward to. We're really happy with the way that's played out, and that type of gameplay, that type of design, is likely to manifest itself in other ways that just aren't a specific weapon this time around.
Would that be like kind of a feat of strength where when the expansion was over, you would no longer be able to earn those anymore, kind of the way mounts work?
Exactly, very much like that.
Cool. So our next question is about legendaries, which I, for one, am very salty about because I still haven't gotten one. Is there... Someone out there knows my pain, I'm sure. Is there any chance that in the future we may see like a set legendary loot option so that people can gear their off specs and not worry about getting a main spec artifact? Because right now it's sort of random. And like, what's going on with the RNG on those?
So the first question, it's interesting. With legendaries, we actually talked a lot before we launched about whether we would need a separate loot spec or, like a legendary loot spec or something that would let you target specific legendaries. And it just became really complicated to keep, I think it's a little too complicated right now to keep loot spec in line and remember what it was set to when you last left your raid. And we thought that a second one would give this weird second ability to choose between them. So I think that specific thing we probably won't do, but I do know one of the things that a lot of people worry about is, okay, well, I can't play as a prod if I want to get my arms legendary. And that's something we will, we're looking towards. I think we have some cool ideas that we can help with, and so that you don't feel as bad and don't feel like you can't do the things you want to do because of it.
I mean, and also as just as Matt said, really, in the long run, we're planning on adding more legendaries to the game over the course of the expansion. And right now, there's a total of 8 for a given spec, but once maybe there's 10 or there's 12, it gets to a point where it feels like you really can't, with any degree of certainty or hope, chase after a specific one. And so that's a problem for us to solve more broadly, the ability to focus your efforts in some way or another. And the solution that we come up with for that is likely to also address the quote-unquote legendary spec concern.
Yeah, I mean, also the legendaries that go across your specs are also very cool that you can play with. So.
All right. Hi, Colby. You have a question for the devs?
Yes. Now that Blizzard has a cookbook, would it be possible to lend one to Nami? And he's killing me.
I mean, he's got a point.
He's getting better, right? Yeah, I mean, he's already...
A badly burnt point.
I mean,
he's ranked 2 now.
Making steady progress. I mean,
Yeah.
Just imagine where he's going to be.
Yeah,
Just imagine.
The sky's the limit, really, for that guy. He's really can't go down anymore.
Our next question is from one of our online viewers, and they want to know, artifacts and their appearances are great, but we have now thoroughly raided the armories of Azeroth's past. So how do you intend to extend or even surpass such a popular system in the future? Like, we can't just go get more. No one would believe you.
Yeah.
Like, we found these better-asser weapons, guys.
I mean, I think that's probably pretty much covered by the question that we just had a little while ago. Yeah, I think we know that it's going to be a painful parting, but we will make it make sense when we get there, and you'll feel good about what does come next.
Yeah. Our next question is from here at BlizzCon.
Hi, Panzer. Hi, guys.
Hi, Gary.
Nice.
Yeah, I know
Nice
your
to
name.
see you again.
Great,
Exactly.
It's nice to see you too.
I play Braylon, an Alliance Paladin, on the Blizzard Watch of the Q Guild. So shout out to them. My question for you guys is, how far in advance do you guys plan your character arcs? For example, with Garrosh, when he was introduced in Burning Crusade, did you guys know his ultimate fate right then, or did it modify over time as the story evolved?
That's a really good question. So how far in advance do we plan out character arcs for our big characters or little ones? Garrosh is an interesting example. Very far. Garrosh was one of those ones where Metzen and I actually sat down and we're like, we need Gromash's kid, and he's going to be in Nagran, and he has a destiny that we need to fulfill. And we didn't quite know where that destiny would go. And initially, we wanted to go much more heroic with Garrosh. It didn't quite turn out that way. But I'm satisfied with where he went. But other times, you know, you have things like Wrathion, who we had no idea where his arc would go. And it's just about who gets geeked up about the character or the whatever it might be, or the story, and where they want to take it. So that started out in Badlands, and then the next thing you know, it's all over the place, and it's awesome, and it's something we want to do more of. So a little bit of both. We do plan for a lot, and for much we do not.
So our next question is from the internet, and they said, back in 2014, cosmetic class accessories were mentioned in an Artcraft post. Now, is this something that was scrapped in favor of artifacts, or is it in the works for future expansions? I think they're talking about, like, maybe quivers and stuff like that.
Yeah, so that wasn't scrapped in favor of artifacts. What ended up happening was we started talking about that system and coming out and building that slew of you know, class accessories that we showed concepts for, had a design for it, thought about how we were going to implement it, and then right after that is when we decided we were going to build artifact weapons for this expansion. So it's not that it killed it, we just put a pause on class accessories as they existed to kind of see and feel out what was going to happen as we started working on the artifact system. And I'd use the example of, you know, like you have now a quiver that'll go with your bow and kind of mashes the two, so we can make sure that as we build these artifacts, we could really play up that class fantasy as much as possible. So now I think we're at a point where we're going to go back and take a look at what did we accomplish and get through with the artifact system, and if there are more things that we want to do with class accessories and that class fantasy, we'll continue to explore that.
All right. Oh, look who it is. Hi. Hi, Ian. He got louder claps than you did.
In Azuna, the Naga are kind of weird in that we don't know why they're there or who they're serving. Khadgar just says, oh no, some Naga have showed up and want the pillar, why? And then Prince Ferrandis says they're working with the Legion, but then we never see them working with the Legion. And now in 7.2, they're in the Tomb of Sargeras, but they're in a different part than the Legion. Whose side are the Naga on?
Hi, Ian. How you doing? It's a good question. Naga, like humans, for example, do not all have the same allegiance to the same matriarch, for example. So it's quite possible that some Naga will work with the Legion, like they may in 7.2, although that's actually not a certainty, because we don't know what's happening in the tomb yet. Well, you guys don't, we do. And beyond. As far as Azuna, that is setting something up, hopefully. And we'll see where it goes, but Ajara certainly is interested in the Tidestone of Golganoth. Why? I don't know. I mean, I do know, but we'll see, right? So that's a story that will hopefully will blow out and expand in future content. Just wait and see.
We'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from the magic of the internet, and they want to know, do you plan to add more content similar to like the Withered Army Training World Quest? I have a follow-up, just
Do you want more?
so you know.
Oh, no.
Have you guys like considered how awful it is to be a healer? Like if you play a tank, you just go in there and you taunt everything and they all hit you and you run out and you're like, oh, I'm done now. And if you play a healer, you're like, oh, I'm dead. I have 4 points and I'm dead now.
It's not how awful it is to be a healer, it's how great it is to be a tank when it comes to the Withered Army training. Like, it's a whole different experience. And if anything, that was probably the one tuning shortfall of the Withered Army scenario. That it was designed as sort of a progressive thing. You build up your army of what we call them internally withered Pikmin. And from week to week, you're a bit stronger, you have a bit more upgrades, you can make it farther in, and they're the ones that are carrying you to victory as you marshal their forces, and you're helping out. Obviously, the tank just walks in, says, hey, wait here, I'm going to go solo everything. That was perhaps not ideal. But that sort of solo gameplay, the sort of solo scenario that you can work towards and improve upon, that aspect of it was cool. Are there versions of that that could express themselves in other forms? Is there a piece of that that could work its way into something like, artifact appearances in 7.2? Perhaps, probably not as involved as the full scenario, but solo gameplay is cool. Group gameplay is cool, but it's nice to have fun, challenging things to do in groups of all sizes, and that includes one.
I just want it noted that I really hate it. I really, really hate it. Our next question is from Andrew here in our audience.
Hi, I'm Zen Sunim. I'm the author of the GTFO add-on. And hopefully you've used it. Well, you already answered my question about the hidden Frosty K appearance, but I'm going to ask, are there still any secrets in the live game that still haven't been discovered by anyone? Can you tell us more about, hidden stuff in the game?
I'm pretty sure there's secrets in the game that I don't know about.
Yep.
I think there's a couple, nothing huge, nothing Kosumov level, but if you ask that question again in a couple of months, the answer may be different. I think it's been really cool to see the excitement around searching and discovering great mysteries like that. I think things like that make the world feel larger, feel more mysterious, let players be part of a community effort, a community search. We don't want to overdo it. We don't want it to feel like the world is suddenly full of Easter eggs and everyone's just looking around every corner, turning up every rock. But when done right, there's a lot of coolness there. When done poorly, as with a couple of the hidden appearance unlocks, or more than a couple as the case may be, there can be some frustration there. But we're learning lessons. That's not something we're going to stop trying to do, and I look forward to the community's efforts to uncover those secrets in the future.
So our next question is from the internet, and it is, do you have any plans to make this expansion a little more alt-friendly? Because I feel like we were told this was like, oh, this is the most alt-friendly expansion, and we don't believe you.
I think we talked about this a little bit before, too. I think we look at every patch that comes out, we actually ask the question of, well, what if two questions. One is if you want to switch characters and you want to try something else, how hard is it to catch up? And then also, if you're coming into the game for the first time and you hit in the middle of 7.2, how hard is it to catch up? Both of those things are, sometimes those answers are the same thing, like we have the same solve. In the case of knowledge, I think that's, we've kind of gone for one solve. But I think each time we look at both questions is different. As I said before, too, I think alt gameplay is really, really powerful. Players like playing different characters. They like trying different things and seeing how a different role or a different class has a different, basically lets you see content in a different way. So we're always looking for that, but I don't think we have anything that we haven't talked about to announce.
All right, our next question is here in the audience.
Hi, I'm Silver from Dragonblight, and shout out to Rivaled, my guild. And my question is about Assyria. Why did you guys pull a Game of Thrones kill on Assyria? Doesn't that contradict established lore?
Spoilers, right, yeah. Sorry, whoever hasn't seen that one yet. She dies. So, heroes make grand sacrifices in our game, and it's happened a lot in Legion, as we're seeing. And while Ysera, who is now mortal, by the way, after Twilight of the Aspects, is dead, her spirit lives on. So what that means going forward, I don't actually know, but it could be cool. It could be something cool that happens, but I wouldn't hold on too long to her being gone for good.
Interesting. Interesting. Our next question is from some of our online players. This was like one that we got a lot, and that was, will we ever have the chance to join multiple guilds, say one for PvE and one for PvP? And we know that you can do order halls. We know that you can do class housing. It's weird how people have been saying guild housing for such a long time, and we're getting everything but guild housing.
So I think a couple of things, like we recognize that we actually have different social groups that we interact with. So not just our guild, but we may have, our raid, which may be coworkers or friends or past friends. So I think supporting multiple social groups in WoW is something we're looking at actively. We actually have something that we're looking at and how that could work. I love the idea of guild halls. I love the idea, like all those are great ideas that we should be looking at. And I think, you know, we have so many ideas. It's a matter of which ones we do first and which ones we do later. But who knows?
Who knows?
I'm gonna keep saying who knows, but
Is that
what
the
I mean
same?
is
Is that
someday.
the also guild housing? Who knows?
I think when it comes to guild housing, the two main obstacles there are, first off, a bit of what we saw in the garrison and the danger of isolation. If it's a place that you never visit, then, well, what's its point? If it's a place that you visit all the time, then even if you have a large active guild, most people in your guild are probably out questing or doing dungeons or doing whatever at a given point in time. So if you're hanging out there, how much time are you spending in a private instance? And what harm does that cause to the overall fabric of the world? Second, the fun of the guild house, or whatever form it takes, as I've seen it described and as I've seen it in other games, is in, you know, customization, it's in decorating the place, it's in mounting trophies, whatever you'd have. Well, who gets that fun? Who's the one who's making the choices? Is it your officers and the guild leader who are deciding what you want to purchase and unlock and put where? Or is it, you know, actually a system that is benefiting purchase and unlock and put where? Or is it, you know, actually a system that is benefiting up? It's not to say, as Matt said, that it could never happen, but that tends to lead us to pursue other things before we return to re-exploring that idea.
All right, our next question is from Natasha here at BlizzCon.
Hi, I'm Arani from EU Argent Dawn. Shout out to Steel Song and the Horde Shadow. My question is, now that Vol'jin's dead and the Darkspear have no prominent lore characters, what do you have planned for the Darkspear next, and who will succeed Vol'jin?
Yeah, Mom.
Vol'jin. Tragic. Good question with Vol'jin. So, there's absolutely plans. This isn't how not to make this spoilery. Just ruin it. All right. Well, listen here. No. There's more to Vol'jin's story, and in time, we'll figure it out.
What does that even
That's all. That's really as far as I can go, guys. And that's probably too much. That's it.
Like, I for one am disappointed with that answer. I'm saying what everyone here is thinking.
That was a no-win question.
Our next question is from a member of our online audience, and they say, Legion brought big improvements to melee combat animations and spell effects for a lot of casters, but are we gonna see any like ranged weapon animations get the same effects and the same treatment anytime soon?
Yeah, we're still working on that system, and you're going to see more and more of that as we move forward. So nothing that I can really give much detail about, but we're still definitely plugging away at it.
Soon, TM.